AI has just stormed in and completely blurred all the lines of who's responsible for what. It's creating a real ownership crisis right at the top. Who owns AI? The strategy, the models, the risk that comes with it. This is the central dilemma for businesses today. There is a massive question causing chaos in boardrooms everywhere. And today, we're going to answer it. Who actually owns AI? We're breaking down the roles of the Chief AI Officer, the Chief Data Officer, and the Chief Information Officer to get some clarity. If you want practical AI strategy and tips to grow your business, make sure you subscribe. So, let's just break it down. The first question that always gets thrown on the table is this one. Who owns the data? I mean, is it marketing's data? Is it the operations team? Is it IT? Lines get fuzzy immediately. And then, right after that, someone asks, okay, fine, but who owns the technology? The platforms, the software, the actual systems that keep the business running. Who gets the final say on all of that? And then, of course, the big one. The question that's causing all the tension right now. Who owns AI? The strategy, the models, the risk that comes with it. This is the central dilemma for businesses today. Look, if the answers to these questions feel kind of murky in your organization, trust me, you are not alone. This isn't really a failure of leadership. It's just a totally new challenge we're all facing. But that ambiguity, it's a real problem. It leads to confusion, people doing the same work twice, and it just grinds execution to a halt. So, how do we cut through all this noise? Well, there's a really simple model that I think brings a ton of clarity to this whole mess. Just think of it like this: the fuel, the engine, and the road. So here's how it works. Your data, that's the raw fuel. It's what powers everything. AI, that's the engine that burns the fuel to actually create movement and get you somewhere. And technology, well, that provides the roads for the whole thing to travel on. Pretty simple, right? The thing is, each of these parts is critical, and each one needs a clear owner. Now, let's meet the leaders who are responsible for each piece. We're going to define the 3 key roles that are absolutely essential to make this whole system work. First up, we've got the Chief Data Officer, the CDO. They own the fuel. Now, this job isn't always the flashiest, but believe me, it is absolutely essential. The CDO is obsessed with making sure the organization's data is trustworthy, clean, and easy to access. This is the bedrock of everything. You know, a good CDO lives and breathes these kinds of questions. They're not chasing after the next cool AI application. No, they are focused on governance and risk. They think in much longer time horizons, building the foundation that everything else is going to depend on. A CDO's job is to enable, not to direct. They are there to provide the high-quality fuel. They don't get behind the wheel and drive the car. Now for the engine. Let's meet the Chief AI Officer, or CAIO. This role even exists because AI is just fundamentally different from other tech. It's adaptive, it's probabilistic. The CAIO is the person responsible for taking that engine and applying it to solve real business problems and create actual tangible value. The CAIO, operates on a much faster clock. They're constantly scanning for new opportunities, weighing the risks, and trying to figure out how to responsibly manage the rollout of these incredibly powerful tools across the entire company. And here is the crucial point. Unlike the CDO, who's focused on the quality of the data itself, the CAIO is relentlessly focused on the outcome. Their job is to turn all that potential into real-world performance. All right, so that leaves the roads. This is the domain of the Chief Information Officer, the CIO. They're responsible for the entire environment. You know, the systems, the networks, the security, that everything else absolutely depends on to function. Their whole mission is stability at scale. The CIO is focused on uptime, on making sure new tools can plug into old systems, and on maintaining a secure, cost-effective infrastructure. They keep the business running today so that it even has a chance to innovate for tomorrow. The CIO isn't trying to invent new forms of intelligence. They're making sure the roads are strong enough to handle all these powerful new engines we're putting on them, so the whole thing doesn't just collapse. So, what happens when these lines get blurred and people start swerving into other lanes? Well, that's when the whole system breaks down. And the cost of not defining these rules clearly is huge. And it's not just some theory. Let's walk through 3 really common ways this goes wrong. First, when you have a stability-focused CIO owning the AI strategy, guess what happens? Innovation slows to a crawl. When a CDO is forced to drive AI projects, the value becomes abstract and disconnected from the business. And finally, when a CDAO tries to bypass data governance to move fast, well, your risk just explodes. The fix here isn't to create some all-powerful super executive who does everything. No, the fix is alignment. Let's look at how to get this system working together, seamlessly. The winning formula is actually pretty clear. The CDO makes sure the fuel is pure. The CIO makes sure the roads are safe and reliable. And that frees up the CIO to really put the pedal to the metal and use the engine to create a real competitive advantage. See, it's not about hierarchy. It's about clear accountability. This brings up a really big question a lot of leaders are asking right now. Is this whole chief AI officer thing just a temporary role? Is it going to disappear eventually? Kind of like the chief internet officer back in the dot-com days. Maybe someday it will be. But the keywords there are right now. AI presents this really unique mix of risks and opportunities that our traditional roles just aren't built to handle. Until AI becomes boring, everyday infrastructure, it absolutely needs a dedicated owner. And let's be honest, we are a long, long way from boring. And that's really the big takeaway here. Making progress with AI isn't about buying more technology or hiring more data scientists. It's about clarity. It's about control. Unlocking the true potential of AI starts with one simple but incredibly powerful act: knowing who owns what.